The first time CEO Amelia Grant noticed that the janitor left early every Friday, she barely cared, but patterns have a way of bothering people who built billion-dollar companies by paying attention to details others ignored, and Amelia was nothing if not obsessively detail-driven, the kind of woman who could remember quarterly numbers from 5 years ago but hadn't taken a real vacation in a decade. His name, according to HR, was Daniel Cruz, mid-40s, quiet, efficient, never late, never sick. Never complained, and yet every Friday at exactly 4:30 p.m., he clocked out while everyone else stayed until 6, a privilege Amelia herself rarely allowed, but HR assured her it was approved years ago by a former executive, some vague, family arrangement, noted in his file, which should have ended her curiosity, but instead it lit a small, persistent spark that refused to go out, and so one rainy Friday evening, driven by instinct rather than authority, Amelia did something she had never done before. She followed an employee home. She kept her distance as Daniel boarded an old bus heading toward the city's neglected south side, far from the glass towers and manicured streets she ruled over, and when he got off, she expected rundown apartments or maybe a second job, but instead he walked several blocks to a dimly lit community center with peeling paint and a flickering sign that read, Riverside Adaptive Workshop, and Amelia's curiosity deepened as she watched him unlock the doors. With a familiar ease, change into a worn denim shirt, and greet a small group of children inside, some in wheelchairs, others with braces or walkers, their faces lighting up when they saw him, calling his name like he was a hero returning from war. Amelia stayed outside, hidden by the darkness and rain, as she watched Daniel lift a young girl carefully into a custom-built wheelchair, his movements gentle, practiced, full of care that felt completely different from the silent men who scrubbed her office floors every night, and as she moved closer to the window, her breath caught when she realized the workshop was filled with hand-built mobility devices, wheelchairs modified for rough terrain, walkers adjusted for tiny hands, braces designed not just for function but comfort, and a handwritten sign on the wall read, "No child left behind because of cost," and in that moment, Amelia felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest, because she recognized the craftsmanship, the engineering. Brilliance, the kind her company paid six-figure salaries for, yet here it was, hidden behind rusted tools and donated scrap metal. Inside, Daniel taught the children how to adjust their own equipment, empowering them rather than fixing things for them, and when a boy asked him why he never charged anyone, Daniel smiled softly and said, "Because someone once helped my daughter when I couldn't afford it, and this is how I pay the world back," and Amelia's breath shook as she pieced together the truth. Years ago, Daniel's daughter had been paralyzed in an accident, and when insurance failed and donations dried up, he had taught himself engineering at night, built her first custom chair by hand, and after she passed away from complications at 13, he kept building, turning grief into purpose, quietly changing lives while mopping floors by night to fund his mission. And Amelia, the woman who fired executives without blinking, felt tears slide down her face as she realized she had been walking past a miracle every day without seeing it. The next Monday, the entire company buzzed with rumors when Amelia called an emergency all-hands meeting, and Daniel sat in the back, nervous, certain he was about to be fired for something he didn't understand, until Amelia stepped onto the stage and told his story to the entire room, her voice steady but eyes shining, announcing that the company would fully fund Riverside Adaptive Workshop, that Daniel was being promoted to lead a new corporate social innovation division with a salary that made the room gasp, and that every employee would be given paid volunteer hours to work alongside him. And when she invited Daniel to the stage, he stood frozen, tears in his eyes, as the same people who barely noticed him before rose in a standing ovation, and Amelia leaned toward the microphone and said, "This is why we pay attention, because greatness doesn't always wear suits or sit in corner offices." And as applause thundered, Daniel looked out at the crowd, overwhelmed, and quietly said, "Thank you for seeing me." And Amelia realized the truth went both ways, because in following a janitor, she had finally rediscovered the part of herself that remembered why building something meaningful mattered more than building something profitable. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that heroes walk among us unnoticed every day, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because stories like this don't just entertain, they change how we see the world, and the next one might change you even more.